Who's doing that? Great, thank you very much, and welcome to today's webinar. I'm very, very excited and honored to introduce to you Manjula Pradeep, who's been a lawyer by profession, and she's been fighting for the rights of underprivileged women and communities, especially on Dalit women and caste issues. She's been fighting on for more than 30 years now. She's well known for her work on caste and gender discrimination, and this was actually recognized, and she was one of the most influential and inspiring women for 2021, according to the BBC. And for us, she continues to be a source of inspiration as she continues to speak out against atrocities on women, and especially on Dalit women. Manjula is the director of campaigns at the Dalit Human Rights Defenders Network, and she is also the founder of WAVE Foundation, which she'll tell you the full form of herself, which focuses basically on the rights of marginalized youth in India. And she co-founded the National Council of Women Leaders, which she's also doing a lot of training, she tells me, on this. And she's the former executive director of Navsarjan Trust, which is one of the largest Dalit organizations in India. So Manjula, let's give Manjula a big round of applause. And Manjula, please, over to you.
Are we going to start first?
Yeah. Just say a bit, and then
good morning, friends. Good afternoon and good evening to friends from different parts of the world. It's an honor and privilege to be part of screening the film called Dalit Defenders. I'll start from there because we started our journey on this issue of screening the film in Germany, and now it's first time that it's been screened in UK and at IDS Sussex. So thank you, Dipta, for inviting me. Yeah.
About 1.3 billion people live in India. According to the secular Indian constitution, all citizens are equal in the eyes of the law. Caste discrimination was banned in India in 1955. However, this vision is not the lived reality of many citizens. In the Hindu faith, the ancient caste system regulates the social rights and duties of people. Known as the so-called untouchables, Dalits are outside the caste system. Dalits are considered impure and face daily discrimination. Dalits often live in poor conditions and are physically separated from the higher castes. According to the latest census from 2011, 16.6% of the Indian population belongs to this group. This means the proportion of Dalits in the population corresponds to about 200 million people.
I was born in a Dalit family and we are 4 siblings. I'm the 3rd child in my family, the 2nd daughter. I was not informed by my father or my mother that we come from the so-called untouchable community.
We are Dalit women, especially Dalit women. We are facing a lot of discrimination in this society.
काम है, मैं जो संघर्ष किया है इतने दिन में, वो ये है कि मैंने खुद एक दलित और लैंडलेस परिवार से हूँ.
Untouchable means they never touched. education, they never touched knowledge, they never saw as human beings.
लेकिन जब हमको समझ में आया, अच्छा उसमें प्रॉब्लम काफ़ी होती थी। जब ये काम हम स्कूल जाया करते थे, उस टाइम पर ये होता था कि लोग हमको देखकर, हमारे साथ के बच्चे जो पढ़ते थे वो हमको देखकर साइड पे गली बदल लिया करते थे।
એની પોતાની આવડતને દાબી દેવા માંગે. કોઈ બી પુરુષ હશે, XYZ, પછી ભાઈ હશે, બાપ હશે, પતિ હશે, XYZ હશે, દોસ્ત હશે, કોઈ બી. બીજી એક હું ખુલ્લે આમ બોલવા માંગુ, મને કશી કોઈની બીક નહીં. હું મારી જાત સાથે આગળ આવી હું, હું કોઈનાથી એ નહીં.
પપ્પા થોડા સુખી હતા, નોકરી કરતા હતા, એટલે અમે બીજા કોઈની ત્યાં મજૂરી નથી કરી. પણ બિનદલિતના ઘરે જ્યારે વસ્તુ લેવા જઈએ, દૂધ લેવા જઈએ કે કંઈ પણ વસ્તુ લેવા જઈએ કે દુકાનમાં કંઈ વસ્તુ લેવા જઈએ, તો એ દૂરથી વસ્તુ આપતા હતા, આપણે પૈસા આપીએ દૂરથી લેતા હતા.
Untouchability is prevailing, meaning X is not ready to touch Y. Can you believe this?
Our birth in itself is a fatal accident.
नमस्ते सर। सर हम खारसूर के रहने वाले हैं। मेरे पति का गांव खारसूर है, वहाँ से हम यहाँ देवास रहने के लिए आ गए थे। तो यहाँ पे वो काम करने, ये साफ़ सफाई का काम करते थे, लेटरिन बाथरूम साफ़ करना, टॉयलेट करना। ये सिफ्ट टैंक खाली करने गए तो वो वहाँ पे सिफ्ट टैंक खाली करते करते शांत हो गए सर। तो फिर उनको क्रेन मशीन से सिफ्ट टैंक तोड़ के क्रेन मशीन से निकाला गया।
According to the International Dalit Solidarity Network, more than 1.3 million people in India suffer the same fate as Mishra and Rupa. Most of them are women. Manual scavenging is the manual removal of human excrement from open defecation sites, private homes, and dry latrines. It is practiced almost exclusively by Dalits, who remove the excrement of all the higher castes. Article 17 of the Indian Constitution explicitly bans latrine cleaning. The few people who oppose the discriminatory tradition come under strong social pressure and risk violence and exclusion.
We are the only country where still a human being is picking up the human excreta of Y, another human being. Every single day this happens. It's a national shame.
The caste system in India has a long tradition and has been practiced in many variations for more than 3,000 years. In the Hindu script, Manusmriti, the castes are strictly separated from each other and the social rules of behavior are defined. The division into castes is hierarchical and can be illustrated with the example of a house without stairs. Within the caste system, no ascents or descents are possible. Birth decides fate. The highest caste is the Brahmins. According to Manusmriti, they are priests and scholars. Their trump card, privileges based on religion and tradition. Among them are the Kshatriya, the worldly rulers and warriors. Then come the Vaishyas, the merchants and traders. At the bottom are the Shudras, the workers and servants. Until now, they have formed by far the largest part of Indian society. Dalits stand outside this order. They are still stigmatized as untouchables.
और
और उसको इतना भी बोलने का मौका भी नहीं दिया जाता है, या वो खुद जैसे बोलते हैं संविधान में अधिकार है सबको समान जीवन जीने का, लेकिन वो महिलाओं को, दलित महिलाओं को या पुरुषों को भी, पुरुष भी वायलेंस सहन करते हैं, अदर कास्ट के लोग उन पे भी वायलेंस करते हैं, लेकिन जो संविधान में कहा गया उसका कहीं भी मान्य नहीं होता है। और महिला अगर है वो दलित की लड़की है।
Callous attitude, completely indifferent, callous and castrated attitude. Dalits are dying in Sivara, let them die. This is the attitude as a nation we have displayed. Baba Sahib Ambedkar said that what is anti-national is caste. We think in terms of caste. We marry as per caste. We build our houses as per the caste. That's why we have caste-based clusters all over the country. So we are not a nation. That is what Baba Sahib Ambedkar said. We are a nation in making. Until and unless caste is thrown into the dustbin of history, we can't become a nation.
Especially in the rural areas of the country, the practice of untouchability is still deeply rooted in social interactions. Caste often dictates every aspect of life. Dalits cannot physically touch, sit next to, or share the same water source as any other member of the village.
If you see the Article 17 of Indian Constitution, Article 17 prohibited untouchability in India about 7 decades ago. But untouchability still exists. Why? Because the people are not following the Indian Constitution. People are following these kinds of beliefs that caste is very important. And basically they need to follow the caste.
ये क्यों? उसका कारण ये है कि जमीन के साथ जुड़ के हमको 5 चीज़ों में अलग रखा जाता है। हमारे पास शिक्षा नहीं होता है, हमारे पास सुरक्षा नहीं होती है, हमारे पास सम्मान नहीं होती है, हमारे पास सत्ता भी नहीं होती है, हमारे पास संपत्ति भी नहीं होती। ये 5 चीज़ हमारे पास नहीं, ये 5 things.
Who can treat caste system as good? Only castes and those who preach Brahmanism can only treat it as good because it only benefits them. It is in their interest. There's no civilization that can accept treating its own citizens.
Being a Dalit woman, I also realized that we are not similar to any other women in India or also in caste-affected countries. So I travel a lot internationally. So when I was in the US and I met black women, I started looking at them and trying to see our community women. So I found some kind of similarities. So I was quite impressed with the theory on critical race theory, something which brought the intersectionality. Like you can't say race means just race, but race also includes gender and class and religion. So I tried to take it back to India. And I try to say that, okay, if you want to see caste, then you cannot see caste with one lens. You have to see caste and gender together. And within that, you have to see class, you have to see religion, also subcaste, because we are graded hierarchy.
મજૂરી કરવા જતા હોય ત્યાં આગળ પણ જે ખેતરના માલિક હોય એમના દ્વારા પણ એમનું શોષણ થતું હોય, ફેક્ટરી કામદાર હોય કે પછી કોઈ પણ જગ્યાએ કામ કરતા હોય, નોકરી કરતા હોય, ત્યાં પણ એમનું શોષણ થતું હોય છે. એટલે ફક્ત પોતાનું નહીં પણ સમાજમાં ઘણી બધી સ્ત્રીઓના પ્રશ્નો હતા કે આજે અત્યાચારો બને છે એ આપણને દેખાય. બહુ મોટા અત્યાચારો બને તો આપણને આમ એવું થાય કે બહુ મોટા અત્યાચાર કરે, બધા દોડે, જેમ કે આગ લાગે ને આમ લાઈબંબા જતા હોય એ રીતે બધું એ રીતે કરતા હોય છે. પણ એમ કે જે ઘરની અંદર જે મહિલાઓને અત્યાચારો થાય છે, બરાબર, અને ખાસ કરીને જે બહેનોને અત્યાચારો, દલિત પુરુષોને શું છે ખબર કે અત્યાચાર થયો તો એમાં બહુ ઇન્ટરેસ્ટ છે, પણ કોઈ મહિલાને સળગાવી દીધી હોય, કોઈ મહિલાના ઉપર અત્યાચાર થયો, કોઈ બેન ઉપર રેપ થયો હોય તો એમાં એટલું બધું ઇન્ટરેસ્ટ નથી. એટલે અમે સાથે કામ કરતા તો અમે વિચાર્યું હતું કે કે અમે મહિલા સશક્તિકરણના મુદ્દે કામ કરશું. મહિલાઓ સાથે આજે ગંભીર પ્રકારના અત્યાચારો બની રહ્યા છે.
Struggle is different. Our struggle is multifold. We not only struggle personally, like in our own families, but in the community, in the society, at the larger level, and that affects our rights. Somehow, our dignity has been taken away just because it has been labelled on us that we are a weak community. Dalit women are weak. Dalit women can be abused. Dalit women can be raped. Dalit women can be attacked. Dalit women can be can be used as a slave. So I think is the thing which I would like to say, that many of us are saying that no, we are not weak.
अच्छे से हमारा सपोर्ट किया, हमारे घर वालों ने किया. तो सबसे पहला मैंने ही छोड़ा काम. तो फिर हमको अच्छा नहीं लगा ये काम करना. तो फिर सबसे पहला मैंने हमारे जहाँ हम जहाँ रहते हैं, हमारा मोहल्ला है, हमारा जो समुदाय के अंदर, उनको पहले हमने धीरे धीरे सबको समझाया. तो उनके आदमी नाते ने भगाते कि तुमने बंद करा तो करा, हमारी औरतों को क्यों सिखा रहे हो, बोले कि ये काम करना गंदा काम है. तो पहले तो हमको भगा देते थे वो भी. फिर धीरे धीरे उनको भी समझ में ये सही बात है. कोई ठंडी बासी दे दे, अपने घर कोई मेहमान आ रहा है, बाहर त्योहार कुछ भी है, तो उठ के न तो मस्जिद मंदिर जाते और अपन नरक में मुँह डालने जाते हैं. तो धीरे धीरे उनको समझाया. तो सबसे पहला तो मैंने जहाँ रहती थी माँ वालों का छुड़वाया. उसके बाद हम ऐसे गांव यात्रा निकालते थे. यात्रा निकाल के हम समुदाय के अंदर मीटिंग करते करते उनको भी हमने करीब मैंने उज्जैन जिले में 250 लोगों को मुक्त करवाया, मैंने छुड़वाया यहाँ से. फिर ऐसे हमने धीरे धीरे 18 राज्य और 200 जिले में.
Earlier when we were used to go in the villages, people were not ready to talk about untouchability. What forms of untouchability are happening? Are they being ostracized or something like that? Is there violence in the village? But as we started talking and sharing with them, and also trying to make them understand that they are also human beings. They are not slaves. They have not committed any crime of being born as a Dalit or as an untouchable. That really made the community understand that we need to open up ourselves. We need to talk about what is happening to our community. And I think awareness camps really helped. And then taking lead from there, then we went into making them aware about their rights, what is given in the Constitution. Where 5 rights of right to equality, right to freedom, right to life, right to fight against oppression, educational and cultural rights are guaranteed in the Constitution. So even if you are not highly educated, but you should know that these are our 5 rights and this is given in the Constitution, which is part of the awareness programs. I started working with the women who were farm laborers and agriculture laborers and wives of bonded laborers, and that really made me understand the kind of exploitation the women were going through the work and also through the landlords, and that made me realize that I need to set up a union of bonded laborers. So in 1996, I formed a union of bonded laborers. I built a cooperative of women where 186 women from 4 villages, they were part of it. I started organizing awareness programs with women. So in 1 year, in 1996, I organized 20 workshops of 2 days each for these women. And that was fantastic because women got that opportunity to get away from their homes. I was taking them away from their area. And then we were imparting them training about how to break your fear, what are your rights, what is important for you as a human being, why you should not protest, why you should protest, why you should not allow anyone to exploit you or atrocize you, and really helped. And because when we took out a rally in 1997 against the issue of minimum wages, where more than 1,500 women participated and led by women, and that was the first rally in that town, in Padra town. So that was, I think, most important part in the journey of me becoming an activist.
Despite living in a difficult situation and facing cruel reality every day, there are many Dalit women who are defending their rights to equality, freedom, fighting against oppression, and demanding a right to life with dignity and self-respect. This conference gave a platform to Dalit women by listening to their stories of struggle, giving them a space to share their experiences, and supporting them to strategize in strengthening Dalit women movement in Gujarat and across India.
And it's very rarely that people give space for women to talk. That's one very important thing. Like always you find workshops and seminars where men are there and men dominating. But so that's why we didn't want men to speak. If you notice that all these panels and all the people who spoke were women. And that was also the idea, that we give space to the women in all these panels and all the discussions and all the group meetings for women to speak their stories. So this was the main thing, and I think it's worked out well.
और सिर्फ मेरे को नहीं, मैं इतना तो कह सकती हूँ कि मेरा गांव में जो महिला लड़ रही है, ये कॉन्फ्रेंस से उनको भी वार्ता जाती है कि हम अलग नहीं हैं, हम एक हैं। ऐसा भी होता है कि देश, दुनिया और ये सत्ता कैसे इसको रिकॉग्नाइज करे, इसलिए हमारा ये लड़ाई लड़ना है, ये मंच उसके लिए।
वो पढ़े लिखे नहीं होते हैं या फिर उनको इतनी कुछ जानकारी नहीं होती है।
I'm quite refreshed after this convention, and what I hoped and what was the objective, I think I've been able to achieve a lot from this convention. It has brought meaning into the lives of the women who are affected by caste and gender discrimination and violence. I think they are the torch bearers in the movement of Dalit rights and also the feminist movement. Somehow the spaces which they are creating in their own networks and in those state platforms, I think those things have to be very crucial in terms of how do we look forward in strategizing into looking at the opportunities and meaningful networks that can happen in near future. So my dream is also that I see a leadership of women, a transformative leadership where they not only transform themselves but they also transform those who are also affected by caste and gender, but also those who are marginalized due to their religious or sexuality or also due to their caste identity. So I think it's very crucial that women should lead. And looking at the present scenario in India, I think women can play a very important role, and especially women who are marginalized due to their caste, gender and religious identity.
होगी शांति चारों ओर, होगी शांति चारों ओर, होगी शांति चारों ओर एक दिन।
ये बड़ा मंच आगे जाके सारा हमारा देश का नहीं, सारा विश्व के महिलाओं ने अपने अस्तित्व के लिए लड़ रहे हैं, अलग अलग ढंग से मजबूत करेगी और इस समाज को भी इस पितृसत्ता को चैलेंज करने के लिए एक नया सोच भी दो, नया संस्कृति भी पैदा करेगा।
क्रांतिकारी खतरनाक डैशिंग हिम्मत खोर में, क्रांतिकारी खतरनाक डैशिंग हिम्मत खोर में, रण मैदानी का खवनार जय भीम वाला सा गोर में, भीमाची पोर में, हाँ भीमाची पोर में, भीमाची पोर में, भीमाची पोर
Yes, put this. Thank you, friends. This is the shorter version of the film, which is 1 hour and 23 minutes. Now I would like to present a study which was done on caste-based sexual violence. And when you saw the film, the ending of the film is where the beginning of a movement which we started in terms of setting of a National Council of Women Leaders. As you saw that it was in January 2020, and then we had COVID pandemic and there was a lockdown. So for 1 year we were struggling, but in 2021 we launched the network, and through the network we set up this yeah, this one. Okay. This one. Yeah. Okay. This study was also done when we thought of how do we address the issue of caste-based sexual violence. As you know that there was an incident of gang rape and murder of a young Dalit woman in India, and which led me realize that how important it is to focus its impact not on just one state or one woman, but across the country. So that's how we identified 13 states where we did this study to identify systemic challenges and barriers to access justice. The forms of violence which we found relating to sexual violence is the use of technology in terms of how do the women are being trapped on the Facebook, on the social media, and then there were cases of they being gang raped also. Then there were also sexual violence based on caste and religion, because caste itself, as I said, it doesn't just focus only on caste, but when you also bring gender, it also relates to your own religious identity, which impacts on your bodies. Even young girls, babies were not spared. There was a case of a girl in southern part of India, a 6-year-old girl whose dead body was found, and she was raped and murdered. Even those, the majority of the cases of sexual violence are where those who are known to the victims or the survivors of sexual violence. So they are also assaulters. And women are not safe, specifically Dalit women who are in the unorganized sectors. They work in a very difficult situations and conditions, and there they are facing exploitation, which includes sexual violence. So what were the natural barriers? Because I am also a lawyer, as introduced by Deepta, and the first step of registering is a complaint, which is called as first information report, the FIR. So there is a refusal many a times. There is also difficulties in terms of a particular law which came up in 1989, which is called as Prevention of Atrocities Against Scheduled Castes and Scheduled Tribes. Because that act is very punitive, so most of them the police tend to ignore to register a complaint under this act. There has been a lot of delay in registering of the FIRs, and in these cases which we studied, where 44% of the cases there have been delay. The failure of the police to take action, the police doesn't take immediate action. There have been delays in terms of even doing the investigation. There have been threats, corruption, and intimidation by the police. Many cases we found that personally I have also worked on these cases where the police tend to not even see that there is a proper investigation which is done. They also threaten the families of the victims. There are times when the survivors have to leave their villages. They also pressurize them to withdraw the complaint, to go for a compromise. There is a lot of corrupt practices in the police station also. There are no CCTV cameras installed where you can make out that the police is putting fear in the minds of the complainants. Investigation is a major strategy as a tool, because in terms of access to justice, you need to have a proper police investigation, and there have been lots and lots of delays. And in these cases, there were 52% of cases there where the charge sheet was delayed. Like it should be filed within 2 months as per the law, but 52%, almost 50% cases it was delayed. Many times the police also label the Dalit women and or the girls that you are accusing the person as an accused or a perpetrator, and it is a false case. So that also comes out from the police's mouth. There's lack of gender and caste sensitivity that I have also personally seen at the various levels, whether it is in the police, whether it is in the judiciary as well. Okay, then there is a medical examination, and at the moment we have also taken up a campaign around two finger test. In that's something which is inhuman, where when a complainant registers a complaint of sexual violence, she is taken to the hospital, and the doctor, they insert two fingers in the vagina of the woman or the girl to see whether she is sexually active or not. That doesn't, it's not needed. As said, it is banned. Even the Supreme Court of India has also banned this practice, but it's still going on. So this is the current status of the sexual violence cases. As you can see, 2% cases FIR not registered, convictions just 4%, compromise 8%, pending investigation 6%. And if you can see that trial, 80% of the cases, the cases are under trial, so pending. Sorry for that. There's some the first one is about basically the victims asking for some kind of compensation, police protections. I think these are the important steps when you talk about access to justice, and we feel that that's not been done properly. In terms of legal support, if they are not civil society organizations or activists who are providing the psychosocial support and also legal support, the victims or the survivors will never be able to go for justice process. There is a need to pay for medical expenses, also rehabilitation in terms of future life of the person, because it's not that a case has happened and you stop studying or you stop working, but there are lots and lots of them who stop going to the schools or colleges or also stop going to the work after this incident. So there's a need for organizing public campaigns, demonstration. We all are doing that, but recently there have been a situation where we have to streamline our work in a different way, and there have been times when we are not able to organize a protest because the current regime is quite negative and quite threatening to the work of which we have been doing for so many years. So these are some recommendations we have put from the report. There's a report which has been published, and I have got a copy of it as well. So it's important that the struggle of Dalit women to be recognized, because we face struggle multifold, as I said in the film as well. And we are looking for desegregated data as well in terms of the issues which are relating to the economic, social, and political rights of Dalit women. And I think we need national and international support as well to address this larger issue. And there is a need to also get a lot of data on violence against women. Very few studies have been done by there's no study done by the state, by the government. So it's us who are doing some studies on violence against Dalit women. And we believe that there needs to be much more research studies to be undertaken. In different parts of the country, national studies also need to be done, and support of the international organizations and institutes, research institutes are very much integral. I need the second one. Yeah. So this was the work we have been doing through National Council of Women Leaders. In last 2 years, we have been able to achieve so much, but we are, yeah. So that, yeah. This is something which bothered me as well, because one of my cousins was, this is the first slide? It was the first. Yeah, thank you. One of my cousins was brutally murdered when he was around 18 years old, and I was 20 in a state called Uttar Pradesh in northern part of India. His crime was he was in love with a girl from another caste, and which was superior to our caste. So that will always remain in my heart and mind. But as we were working on several issues in India for past 5 years, we realized that there's one issue which has not been significantly addressed, is issue of crimes based on honor, which includes honor killings. So we launched a national campaign 1.5 years back, focusing on protecting the rights of those couples who go for intercaste, interfaith, or same-sex marriage or association. As you know, there is a Supreme Court petition which was also filed by networks who are focusing on the rights of queer and same-sex couples. And This is something we need to understand, that honor, what is honor? Honor in India is where you see that the family's prestige and the family wants that their children should follow the ground rules of caste, religion, in the context of loving somebody or associating somebody or marrying somebody. So I think this is something we need to understand, that there is a National Crime Records Bureau which produces statistics every year. And I think the entire question which comes with how is the data they are putting it when they're talking about honor crimes, because there is no law to address these issues. So either they would be under the Indian Penal Code, these cases would be registered, and most of them would be as a motive of murder. So the figure of 540, which is mentioned by the NCRB statistics, doesn't justify that these many cases have happened. I think the numbers are much more, but because there is no law, so hence the statistics are also doubtable. Now we are putting, if you see the blue part, which is also about a story of Kaushalya. She's from Tamil Nadu, a girl from dominant caste community who fall in love with a Dalit boy, and her partner was killed brutally, and it was captured in the CCTV camera. And Kaushalya then steered the campaign around this issue and for justice for the killings of her partner against her family members. And that was very challenging for her, because she faced a lot of difficulties in terms of safety and other issues, because it was against her family members, her parents. And so we had, through the support of Center for Law and Research, the Center for Law and Policy Research, Bangalore, we framed a law which is called as Protection of Freedom of Marriage and Association and Prohibition of Crimes in the Name of Honor. This bill was drafted last year, and this bill includes the wider understanding of what does it means of crime in the name of honor. And it also gives definition and expanded the scope of crimes which constitute violence. It's not just murder, it's more than murder. So internal displacement also happens, mass attacks also happens. So everything is being included in this bill, and it talks about rights of victims and witnesses. I think that's very important. And there's at the moment, there is no legislation, there is lack of proper recording of statistics, there is low rates of convictions, and there is a law commission report, but which the government has not accepted. They have also drafted a bill, but the government of India has not accepted that bill. And even the National Commission of Women has also demanded for a law on this issue, but the government is not much interested until now. Yeah. The third one. I hope I was time. Time. Okay. Thank you. I just need 5 minutes more. Sorry. Yeah. This is the green one. You just showed that. Yeah. I saw it. Just a second. Or I stop here. Yes. The blue one. Yeah. Thank you. So I just quickly discuss about this report, which was on the status of implementation. Implementation of the act, which is there to protect the rights of Adivasis, the tribals and Dalits in India, which was amended through the work we did. We formed a coalition, and based on that, we amended the act, got it amended, and the rules were also framed. So the objective of the report was to perform the performance of monitoring and implementation mechanisms, to study the performance of courts, because this law gives a provision for exclusive courts. Then it talks about establishment of police stations. Then the methodology was we use the Right to Information Act. Under that, we got the information of, we tried to get it from 21 states, but then later on we got only from 15 states. We also use the secondary data by NCRB, the National Crime Records Bureau, and Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment's annual reports. And if you can see that these are the, this is what is the growth of SC/ST PO Act. If you see that 2016 the last one, which we studied, was between 2016 and 2021 is 26%, but the highest was in between 2010 to 2015, which was 44.87% increase in crimes. What kind of, if you see, all India, the crime which are committed like murder or attempt to murder is 2.38, but against scheduled caste and scheduled tribe communities, 3.64, so little higher than the general. Rape or attempt to rape, 1.02 for all India, but for the communities is 8.33. Assault on women, it's 2.73 versus 7.98. Simple injury, 13.19 and 29.65. And criminal intimidation, 2.93 and 7.7. So basically, under the Atrocities Act, 70% of crimes have been in the form of insult or intimidation. That is from the beginning, since I've been working since 1992, we have seen the same situation. Much difference has not happened. So this is the pendency of the cases. 65% there is a pendency of cases. These are our charge sheet should be framed in 60 days, but as you can see that the average duration for each state is more than 60 days. And the top is Punjab, which is 348 days. Time taken to file in terms of the form of violence. So if you see that the heinous crime of murder, it takes 90 days to file. As such, it should be 60 days. These are some of the, I'm talking about what is the inequity in terms of jobs which are there for, as per the constitution, 156,000 jobs in the police for scheduled caste and scheduled tribe police personnel is vacant. And there is a larger issue of why there is a vacancy there still. As I said that nearly 70% of the SC cases have been pending over the year, which means that just about 1 in 3 crimes against the SC community result in a conviction. We are talking about special exclusive codes, which I discussed about the 2 months. As per the law, it should be in 2 months, there should be some kind of sentencing, whether it could a judgment, which is acquittal or there is a punishment. And these are the legal aid which should be given, and only the last figure is of 2020, which says 12.38% victims got legal aid from the government. There's a provision for that. And right to, if you see their acquittal is 30,987 cases. There have been acquittals, appeals only 2,074 cases, which is just 6.69%. And around 300,000 victims have or survivors have been given some compensation. That's it. I've just tried to put a smaller version of all the reports, and I hope I've been able to raise the issue of what are the issues relating to the Dalits and the issues of caste-based discrimination and violence. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Manjula, for raising all these issues, and some of them are so. Come, please have a seat. Some of them are really, like heart-wrenching, and just the atmosphere that you work in. And, I was particularly struck by the line when you said that perpetrators are those that are protectors. So protectors themselves become perpetrators. And that's something that, and you see this probably also with not just, the police and the laws which are meant to protect, but actually end up not protecting. And, what I was also really interested in hearing more, and you said some things, but I'll open it up to the floor in a minute, but I just wanted to say that, like how you said that, there are all these barriers, and then what are the strategies that you are engaging? Sorry, I forgot to also say that Manjula is part of our advisory board for India for a project that I'm leading called Super, or it's Sustaining Power. And that's happening in 4 countries, India, Nepal, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Manjula is part of the country reference group in India. So, I mean, for us, the project really is interested in looking at the strategies and looking at how, different women's groups organize. And I mean, thank you so much for giving us such a wide spectrum of the difficulties that are faced also in organizing, but also some of those successes, some of those real kind of like when you see, some of those moments of coming together and of solidarity and, and all that advocacy, etc. And it must be really difficult to raise these issues, especially in the current government. So, it would be really good to hear about what sorts of changes in your strategies you've had to apply. But before you answer that, let me open it up to the audience, also to online questions. Gary, there are nothing?
Only one person asked, how can we watch the full video?
Oh, okay. So yes, how can we watch the full video? Yes, so we've been discussing that with Manjula actually, and because this is a it's sensitive. So what we're going to try and do is we are going to put this up on. We're going to try and obtain it and put it up on the website, which is www.super.org. That's supwr.org, and that link can be there. Gary can put that in the chat. For the link of the website, so that would be great. But Manjula, over to you for like just talking a little bit more about the strategies and what has changed in the last few years, especially.
Thank you for the question, Deepta. I think things have changed in a way that we have to be more careful in terms of raising our voices. I think for us, last few years have been more challenging, and before COVID also the situation was not so easy, but post COVID is a time when we are discussing on how to implement those things which we have planned. And on the other side, the role of the government also is something to be concerned about, because they don't tend to allow to give that space to us for dissent and also for protest, because ultimately what we are doing is we are following the rule of law. We are not saying that which we are doing against the constitution, which has given us the right to speak. But the point is the spaces which need to be built for the civil society organizations are also shrinking. As you know that there have been some changes into the FCRA, the Foreign Contribution Regulation Act, and many of very good organizations doing genuine work have lost their license. And their funds have been stopped, and how do they sustain themselves? How do they continue to do their work? I do know that there have been some women from the marginalized communities, from the Dalits and from tribal or Muslim communities who were leading organizations in very difficult terrain like northern part of India, like Bihar or Uttar Pradesh, and they have lost their FCRA, and many of them are going through mental health issues. And there is no protection mechanism for them, because see, the struggle of each one of us is so difficult and so challenging. One is to be on your feet and to keep doing your work with determination and confidence, because as I said, that your family, your community doesn't support the work you do. And on the other side, your identity as someone who is so-called from a particular caste, and where you tend to be seen as weaker person or someone who doesn't have that articulation or doesn't have those skills which are needed to run your organization. So how do you sustain it? And when there was some ray of hope which was there, and now it suddenly stopped just because you're questioning the rule of law. You're talking about implementation of the laws. You're talking about protection of the rights of defenders, because India doesn't have a law to protect the human rights defenders in the country. So how do you survive? Like, I do know that I have to leave my parents' house. Like in India, you live with your family when you are young. So, but it is like if you decide yourself to leave your house is different, then you are pushed out of your house just because the work you do is threatening to your family. So Deepta, there are so many women like me, I think, and from the underprivileged communities. How do they survive in this volatile environment? And people are not bothered or concerned about them, to tell you very frankly, whether it is feminist organization, whether it is women's rights organization, whether it is Dalit rights organization, tribal rights organization, Muslim rights organization. When you talk about women, and then I think that's a major issue for each one of us in India.
And how does one survive in these situations is what I was I was also wondering, and also, I mean, you said something also in the video there was, and like the fact that, so caste and gender is one thing, and then if you add religion to it, that's quite another thing. So there's a hierarchy in the Dalit group as well. And given India's current government on kind of like really, like we hear, at least in the international spheres and in the outside India, you hear a lot of things about and also see and perceive, when I go back home, how Muslims are treated badly, and there's a big sort of recognition, at least among some quarters, that Muslims are being targeted, etc. So I can, but I just wondered whether is that the same recognition for Dalits, especially for Dalit women, and how do activists like you sustain yourselves? Where does this amazing capacity come from?
It's also what you are saying, that you have to survive in a volatile environment. And I do know that the work which we do and I do is difficult and challenging, and it's also not rewarding in that sense that, and then because you live a very isolated life and you live a very lonely life, the kind of work I do know that when you become when you move out of this working under a shadow, and then you create your own way of working and you become a leader, it's a different life you live. And then the support system, it's very limited and very small and very much important, because ultimately one has to survive a larger battle. And for me, I think the inspiration of Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar, who drafted the Indian Constitution and who studied in London School of Economics, is so important. And because he's an integral part of my life, and he inspires me and many millions of us in India and other parts of the world, because ultimately I believe that if you are doing your work honestly, then you should not be afraid. And I think the most important aspect of us to continue to do our work is that we are not afraid. That is it. And you have to be fearless. So you don't give so much power to a person or a political party just because they are ruling the country. And because ultimately, I believe that the movement is important. The movement for which India is known in the world, for the freedom and for several things we are known for in the world. Why we have to shine away with another reality of right-wing politics, which is basically impacting the lives of millions of people, and it is impacting the economic, social, and political rights of so many people in the country. So when you are the largest democracy in the world, you need to also see that what does the democracy mean in this country, where there is shrinking spaces for the civil society organizations. When the activists speak out, they are put behind the bars or they are in the prison. I don't want to face that situation, but I am prepared for that. That is a major challenge, what you are asking me, and that also is a fear of many of us. But if you are afraid, then you give power to that person or whoever it is, to dominate us. And I don't believe in authority. I don't like authority. And yeah, so we'll keep doing good work and keep trying to make some changes in the lives of our people.
Yeah, that's really inspiring to hear, Manjula. And you said that, of course, support systems are very important. So do you have support systems across different activists? Is that like does your activist group itself become a source of solidarity?
I think National Council of Women Leaders, which we founded in 2021, is so important, because we have brought women from tribal communities, Dalit communities, Muslim communities on one platform. I think that's so important, because we are now transiting into another way of working, in the sense that we are not part of one particular movement. We are building another movement, and that also creates a support system, right? So it's not that my identity as of one particular caste or religion, as you said, or ethnicity does not makes me away from the other reality of other caste and religion. I think it's so important to build that solidarity, the sisterhood. And that is what is energizing all of us. And that is making us move ahead. In 2 years, we could do so many things. I couldn't believe that. And also the building up of Dalit Human Rights Defenders Network, which is a coalition of more than 1,000 defenders from the communities across the country. And I think we never thought that during the COVID times and after that we could do so many things. And there was another report, I didn't present it, but about the atrocities during the COVID lockdown, which happened on the Dalits and also on the Adivasis. We focus on the caste issue. But so for me, I think what I have done is also through Wise Act of Youth Visioning and Engagement Foundation, that's WAVE Foundation, which I started in 2018 and it will finish in August, 5 years. And I co-founded it with a Muslim youth.
Okay.
And so what you were saying, the Dalit and the Muslim unity is somewhere comes in because we two of us work together. And through that, we emerged with that idea that why don't we build the capacities of women activists from the grassroots, from these 3 communities, so that they can build up their leadership and they can do the work more strategically, and the skills are also developed and the capacities are also built up. So in last 2 years, I've trained more than 60 young women from 11 states, and it's still going on. This year also, we are training more and more women. So yeah, so the network is building up. We are spreading in 21 states. I really feel proud of this initiative.
Great, thank you. Yes, yeah, sure.
So this is from Mina. My question is that despite constitutional laws, people are not following the constitution. Activism is raising awareness among the Dalit women, but what is the awareness campaigning being done among higher caste people to respect the constitutional rights of the Dalits?
It's a very good question, because I don't call them higher caste, I say that dominant caste. Now the point is that the question is very pertinent, because those who are the perpetrators or the people who practice caste or religious-based discrimination or violence are mainly from the dominant communities. So see, the awareness building is very important, but those spaces which we need to build up is also that what is the role of the civil society organization, which are not led by us, but led by the people from the dominant communities. So is it our role to also spread awareness? But I think there is somewhere a lack of solidarity between those underprivileged groups run by those leaders and by the civil society organizations who are from the dominant community. We need to bridge that gap. I think the constitutional building awareness should, okay, because it was drafted by a man from our community, that doesn't mean it is the constitution of only 200 million people in India. So now India is the largest populated country in the world. Everybody should be aware about the law, about the constitution. And I think the role and responsibility should not only be of us who come from the marginalized communities or underprivileged communities. It should be the duty of those organizations which talks about human rights. And I think awareness building can start from there. And what I do is also I have not created boundary around me and saying that I will not associate with someone who is not from my identity or from my religion or whatever. I work across the, I don't have any boundaries. So I work with any person who believes in constitution. So when those spaces comes up, then if that person has that inclination to work and associate, and we work on building awareness on the constitution and the rights. So that's how I hope I've given some justice to the question.
I just wanted to have a follow-up on that. And I think you're absolutely right, especially in the Indian context, there has been, even historically, this division between the dominant feminist movement and the Dalit women movement or the Muslim women's movement. And I wonder what can be done to bridge this gap, to actually bring solidarity across these groups. What is your thinking about that?
Dipta, I just want to lay one experience of mine, and also what a concern is. we as Dalit women have moved a bit ahead. So when I joined in 90s, it was a different scenario. We hardly had women from my community who will speak out. There were few of like women like Ruth Manorama and others were there in the southern part of India, but I am from the northern part of India, and it's a difficult terrain to work in northern part of India. The caste and the traditions, everything, you are also from the north. Now the point is, we have been able to move few steps, and you can see the report which we prepared and published on caste-based sexual violence. I'm struggling to do a study and research on sexual violence on tribal women in India, and also on Muslim women later on. I'm planning to do. This year, I wanted to focus just on tribal women to build their leadership, and I'm still struggling with that because, see, entire issue of intersectionality when it comes into religion and your other social identity, I realized that there is still a lot of work to be done for the other two communities. Although we had Shaheen Bagh protest where it was led by women, it was for CA NRC, but in terms of leadership means you have to be prepared for several things. So it's not only one protest. You're talking about understanding the framework, the constitution, the laws, everything, and having those skills. And I think there we need to work a lot on the rights of tribal women in India and also Muslim women. And that's what we are trying to do through the National Council of Women Leaders. Like we are also now reaching out in Jammu Kashmir, which is a different terrain, to work with there. So we are taking small steps, but I'm just thinking about that, why it's only National Council of Women Leaders to be engaged so deeply into these issues of rights of underprivileged women. What happens to, that there is a I don't know whether how strong it is, but there is a feminist movement. There have been a lot of parallels we can draw upon, and we also have women's rights movement. But you don't see that kind of like, I don't know whether it is, am I right or wrong, but there is a fragmentation in terms of,
there is a fragmentation.
you must have realized also. So how do you work on those issues? Because I, as a person from an underprivileged community who was treated very badly in the family, in the community, in the organization, in the larger movement, when I am stepping in and creating spaces for myself, it's not that everybody and giving that space to me, like you inviting me, it's a big difference, because that's what should happen. And there are women like you in India as well who are quite conscious about this fact and very sensitive. So they are creating those spaces, but they are in minority. So when the entire struggle and entire campaign or the movement remains very much with few people, larger from the underprivileged community and few from the privileged communities, then the battle is still not very strong. That's what I think.
Yeah, sure. Are there any questions online, Karen?
There is a long one here. I can read out. It's about Sussex University.
Okay.
Yeah, I can read it if you want. So I'm an alumnus of the International Development Cohort at the University of Sussex. I'm extremely privileged and always happy that I've had the opportunity to associate the University of Sussex. But one major concern or problem I have observed, even within the development studies cohort of Sussex, was some of my peers proudly talking about their upper caste surnames and talking high about this. This phenomenon is also very common in my day-to-day engagements in the public sphere as well. In a lot of situations, in a lot of those situations, let me just get there. In a lot of those situations, I've understood that those people were ignorant. So my question is regarding this ignorance of the members of the dominant caste communities, and a lot of them are even highly educated in social sciences degrees as well. In that aspect, what could be the potential future actions to address the massive ignorance and educate the members of the dominant caste communities?
So it's a very good question. It's basically talking about surnames, right?
Yes, and how one should, like, even when they're highly educated, that how does one address, how does one create awareness amongst your peers about these issues, because some people may be unaware of their own privilege as well.
Yeah, and they are based in you.
Yeah. She's met them. Well, not at IDS, probably at Sussex University.
Yeah. I think it's a very good question, because yes, you have the privilege, and that's why you are studying here. I think that's the first thing, because when you are from a particular community, you also have the possibilities for higher education. So the point is, how do you use your privilege in building awareness? But then to build that awareness, you have to lose your privilege. So which means that you have to then no, don't show off with your surnames. I think that because in India, the family names are a kind of a pride. Oh, I'm Shukla, I am Sharma, I am this and I am that. And I think that pride it gives, that being that gives a kind of a superiority, that gives a kind of a kind of saying that I'm different than others. And when this difference comes, then only the discrimination starts. So I think somewhere you need to have those spaces of discussion. I'm not sure whether it can happen in Sussex, in this university, because it's very important, because there are lots and lots of Indian students who come here to study. And most of them are from the dominant communities, from the privileged backgrounds. So whether they understand what is caste system, because ultimately they are from India, so they are aware of it. Many people, they also tend to say that I don't know, okay, I have this family name, but I'm not aware of caste system. You cannot be caste blind. So if you have that kind of understanding, that if you believe that India should not be ruled by caste system, but be ruled by constitution, then you have to take some steps by yourself. And each person who comes here comes with a baggage of identity politics in the country of India. And so if you have that baggage of, and you want to show off that you come from this small minority community, which becomes a very privileged one just because of holding a particular caste, then you should think about that this is something which is happening for like 3,000 years. So we all have, my ancestors have traveled so far that we got educated, though they were tying a broom behind their back, because if they walk, their footsteps should be swept away with that broom. They were spit on in they have to tie under the neck, so that if they want to spit somewhere, they have to spit in that. From there, we have come to this position, and there are very few of us. We are in minority, and in our own country, we are very few. I would say that in my faculty of social work, I'm the only student who is an anti-caste activist, to tell you very frankly. 30 years back, I did my master's in social work. So this is the situation so many of us who say I'm a social science student, or I'm a political science student, or a gender studies, or whatever, what does it mean? Like, do you still use the framework of intersectionality, or you want to ignore it? And I think there the entire question comes is, do I really recognize that caste is a problem in the country of it? And it's not only caste, but if you see it through the lens of intersectionality, then you will also try to spread that awareness in this university as well.
Wonderful. Okay, I think time is running away from us, but I mean, on that very inspiring note that, like that one has to recognize one's own privilege, and yes, I mean, all of us come with that baggage of like thousands of years of like, certain things, and this is, and if we are to become agents of change, then we cannot be caste blind. It's not enough to be caste blind or caste neutral. It actually has to be, you have to be an activist for generating that. So with that, many thanks to Manjula for this very inspiring conversation that you've had, and the amazing movie that you've shown. And thank you so much for making that shorter, but we will definitely put that up on our website as soon as possible. And yeah, big round of applause. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, friends, Debbie and Helen and Gary, for helping and in providing this very wonderful support to and warm welcome to me at your university.
So nice to have you. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.